السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه. اللهم لا سهلا إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وأنفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, my dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam. Today, inshallah, as part of the promise we made to have a discussion about the makharij, how to pronounce the articulation, how to articulate the letters of the Quran. And, in a summary, the letters of the Quran, the Arabic letters are 28, right? But the Quran Tajweed letters are 29. Why? Because in Arabic, it's only alif, right? But in Tajweed, there's the alif and the hamza are they have two different functions, right? So that's why in the Quran Tajweed, the hamza is a different letter on its own. But in the normal Arabic, the hamza is part of the alif, or the alif is in place of the hamza. But the alif most oftentimes is used for another purpose, which I'll talk about inshallah. So these are the makharij. So they are the main 5 points of articulation. So there are 5 regions of the mouth, right? Of the entire sound system. So we have what we call the mouth. So the mouth is called the jawf, or the oral cavity. Most of the scholars call it the oral cavity. So the jawf is called the oral cavity. So that's the space, between the roof of the mouth and the tongue. So that's the oral cavity. And subhanallah, so we can see all these letters. So we have in the oral cavity, we have 3 letters of the med. So we're gonna talk about that later on, inshallah. The huruf al-med. So we have 3 letters of med. So med means to elongate a letter, to stress the pronunciation or the articulation of the letter in terms of the vowel sound. So mad is called long vowel sound, right? So for instance, if something is having fatha, but the fatha, you will see sometimes in the Quran, you see a very long fatha. So it means the fatha is not short, but a long vowel fatha sound. That is for alif mad, right? And the same thing for yaw mad and the waw mad, right? So there are 3 letters that comes out from the oral cavity, and all these 3 letters are the letters of mad. And it is the alif, right? The alif of mad. So the alif, the waw, and the ya. So we're gonna give an example later on, inshallah. So the mouth, or the oral cavity, is a region of the mouth of our sound system where our speech comes up from, and that's one of the first region of the articulation of the letters of the Quran. So alif, mad, waw, and the ya, the huruf mad, these are they come out from one articulation point. So there's a difference between the regions of the mouth where letters come out from and the articulation. So there are 5 regions of the word, 5 regions of the mouth where letters come out from. So each of those regions have different number of articulation points. For instance, the jawf that we are talking about right now has just one articulation point, right? So it has just one articulation point, and that is where the letters of mud comes out from, like a, e, u, right? Those are where the letters of mud comes out from. So the jawf, right, the oral cavity. And the second region of the mouth where the letters come out from is the halq, the throat. So the throat starts from the end of the tongue to very close to the chest, right? So we have 3 articulation points at the throat. So we have adna al-halq, that is the nearest part of the throat, which is very close to the tongue. And we have wasat al-halq, the middle of the throat. And we have aqsa al-halq, and we have the deepest part of the throat. So the halq has 3 articulation points. So as you can see here, both the kha and the gha, they come out from the same articulation points in the throat. So they come out from the nearest part of the throat, the one very close to the tongue. So the gha. So you have to be very careful whenever you pronounce gha and kha. So you see how to pronounce kha, gha. So it comes out from the deepest part of the throat. So the kha is and the gha is. So if you're not feeling the pronunciation of the gha at the back of your throat, then you're not pronouncing gha. So it's not ga. People will say gairi. It's not gairi. Ghairi. So we're going to give an example in sort of factor later on, right? Kha, kha, right? So the gha and the kha, they come out from where? Sorry, they come out from the adna al-halq, the very closest part of the throat, very behind the tongue, right? So then the a and the ha, they come out from the middle of the throat, right? A, ha, a, ha, a, ha. And the deepest part of the throat is where the hamza and the letter ha comes out from. As you can see, when I pronounce the ha, right, it's like you're roaring like the lion does, right? Ha. So ha. But the hamza is like a, a, a. But the ha, ha. So a, that's the hamza, ha, that is the ha, right? So we talked now about the the halq, the throat, and we talked about the jawf, right? That's the oral cavity. And let's talk about the tongue, and that is where we have the majority of the letters come out from. The majority of the letters come out from the tongue. I'm gonna break down the regions of the tongue later on, inshallah. So we have one articulation point here. So in general, in total, based on Imam al-Jazari, there are 17 articulation points of the Arabic letters, of the Quran letters, 17 articulation points. But we have 5 regions, right? So each of the region have different number of articulation points. Like the jawf has just one articulation point. The throat, which is the halq, has 3 articulation points, right? Adna al-halq, wasat al-halq, and aqsa al-halq, right? The deepest part of the throat, the middle of the throat, and the nearest part of the throat, right? So 3 articulation point 1, but the tongue has 10 articulation points. 10, right? It has 10 articulation points, the tongue. So on the tongue, we have further classified into 4 regions where letters come out from. When in total, we have 10 articulation points from the tongue. And the shafatain, which is the lips, has 2 articulation points, right? It has 2 articulation points, right? And the khayshum is just 1 articulation point. So if you put them together, 1 plus 3, that is 4, plus 1, that is 5, right? Plus 2, that is 7, and then plus 10, that is 17. So we have a total of 17 articulation points where the letters come out from, according to Imam al-Jazari. There are different opinions based on some other scholars, right? But they agreed upon, and the unanimous opinion is that there are 17 articulation points for some valid reasons. Okay, so let's move on. So this is just a depiction of the throat. So the throat, we have the adna al-halq, the nearest part of the throat, right? So I already talked about that earlier on. And the wasat al-halq, which is the middle part of the throat, and that is where so the thing is that if you're not feeling anything on your throat whenever you pronounce these letters, it means you're not pronouncing them well. Like the gha, so it's very close, the throat and the very near part of the tongue, right? We're gonna give an example later on. So that's the throat. So this is the tongue. So I said earlier that the tongue has 18 letters that come out from the tongue. So from here alone, we have 11, right? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right? So we have 18 letters from the tongue itself. SubhanAllah. See the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us, having majority of the letters coming out from the tongue, subhanAllah. Imagine someone lost their tongue, then they can't speak anymore. They have any challenge with their tongue, then they can't speak fluently, subhanAllah. So we should all be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He gave us the tongue, and our tongues are functioning, right? Are functioning. So there are 18 letters that come out from the tongue, right? But there are 10 articulation points from the tongue. But here I'm just gonna, to avoid confusion, because a lot of people get it confused, right? I will just try to explain, based on the 4 regions of the tongue. So the 4 regions of the tongue, we have the middle of the tongue. So the middle of the tongue is where the shin and the ya comes out from. Sh, sh, ya, and jim, right? Everyone knows how to pronounce shin, ya, and jim, right? And the tip of the tongue, that is where majority of the letters, 11 of them, comes out from. And imagine all these 11 letters, they come up from around the tip of the tongue, and at the tip of the tongue, there are different makharij there. There are different points there. Some letters, they come from the same point, right? Like for instance, ta and dal. Ta, da, ta. So for ta, the tip of your tongue is going to touch the front incisors, the inner part of the incisors tip. Ta, da, ta, da, right? And we have sod, right? So your tongue is gonna roll, right? Sod, almost touching the roof of the front gum, right? Sod, sin, po, right? This is za, ra, nun. Everyone knows how to pronounce them most often. Then another letter that's a lot harder is the. For you to pronounce the very well, so you have to put the tip of your tongue together with the, press it on the incisors teeth, right? The, see, everyone can see my mouth. The, right? And tha. So the tha, you blow here in between the teeth and the tongue. Tha, right? So these are all the letters that come out from the tip of the tongue. What of the two letters that come out from the edges of the tongue? So the edgy part of the tongue touching the premolar teeth. That's where the bod and the lam is pronounced. See how I'm going to pronounce the bod. Bod. See how my mouth swell, right? And lam. Another letters, two letters that are very hard to pronounce is the kaf and the qaf. Sometimes, the kaf and the tongue and the qaf, they have the same articulation, right? So ka, they come from the deepest part of the tongue, very close to the halq, very close to the throat, right? Right? Ka, right? So we're gonna be doing some recitations later on, and I'll be putting some recitations in the group where you guys can monitor how I pronounce different letters based on what I've just said. So don't worry if you can't pick up everything right now. I'll be reading some verses of the Quran, putting in the group, so you guys can come back later on. So we have a very detailed course about the makharij. If you guys are interested, if anyone is interested in enrolling in the program, we have the classes every Saturday. We have it between I think 1 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Central Time now. So we used to have the class. It's like 45-minute class. So we've gone through all this in that class. So it's it's a Tajweed class for adults only. We do have it on every Saturdays. So if you're interested, you can let me know, inshallah. So we go more into details and practice and many questions and many other things that we do there. But this is a very short presentation, which might not have the time to expatiate and explain all the details about how to pronounce. And not just knowing the theory, you also need to know about the practical part of it, right? How do you apply it? And you can't just know it by theory or by just watching someone on the YouTube. You have to have someone that's going to listen to you and make sure that you already pronounce them very well. That's one of the challenge. Like, you want to learn on your own, it's going to be a lot harder. You will not be able to assess yourself and motivate yourself, right? Apart, if compared to if you have someone who is monitoring you and make sure that you're on top of what you need to do, right? So ka, so this ka and kaf, they come, and there's a very good significance of why we are doing this, of why we have to learn the makharij. Because whenever we get to certain part of recitation of the Quran, there's some Quran ahkam that has to do with you knowing where these letters come out from. We have something called idgham in Tajweed, ahkam al-idgham. We have some letters, they have idgham mutamathilain, mutajanisani, mutamathilani, mutajanisani, mutaqariban. These are something that advanced Tajweed, that you have to build it level upon level, right? So you can't learn everything at a time, but it's good for you to have a good idea of which letters are together, right? You see now that the qaf and the kaf are together. So whenever you see them, like for instance, there's an ayah in Surah Al-Mursalat, alam nakhluqukum. If you guys go check Surah Al-Mursalat, there's this ayah there. I forgot the number of the ayah. So alam nakhluqukum, there's a qaf with sukun. There's a qaf right after the qaf. There's kaf and heart. So how do you pronounce this one? Right? For you to pronounce this, you have to say alam nakhluqukum. So you pronounce the qaf without the sound coming out, and you pronounce the kaf. So there's a lot, to this. Just this diagram, there's a lot to it. So it's not something cumbersome. Don't think it's hard for you to learn, but you have to, take it step by step, but I'm taking every. So in the program I talked about, we took each region of the articulation points every week. So we don't take everything at a time. So we took it one after the other, and we practiced. We had a lot of time to practice it, right? So we delved into it much comprehensively than I'm just doing right now. So that's the tongue, and also the lips, right? So there are 4 letters that come out from the lips, which is the ba, the wa, the fa, and the mim, right? So the fa, so the lips has 2 articulation points. So one of them is the fa. So for you to pronounce the fa, we all know how to pronounce fa. So fa is gonna be fa. So you put the upper lips, right? You press it, or so the upper lips is pressing on the bottom teeth incisors, right? Fa, right? And for the wa and the mim and the ba, they are from the same articulation point. So what? So wa, the lips didn't close for wa. For the mim, the lips closed. For wa and for mim and the ba, the lips is gonna close. B, right? So the lips will close for that. And the wow, so the wow ghayr mad. So the wow ghayr mad means wow, the ordinary wow that is not representing mad. So we know that for alif, ya, and wa, whenever they don't have any haraka, they don't have any vowel sound, they are soundless, they represent mad. But whenever wow is having a sound, a short vowel sound like fatha, kasra, dhamma, right? So that is what they meant here, that wow ghayr mad. So a wow that is not a wow that's representing mad, right? So 2 articulation points from the lips. And the last region is the khayshum. They call it khayshum, they call it the nasal cavity, right? And this is used for pronouncing noon wa mim mushaddada. So mim mushaddada, right? Wal mimu mushaddada. So mim mushaddada. So whenever a noon has shadda and the mim has shadda, so the pronunciation of the shadda comes out from the khayshum, like inna. So you see that inna. So the nasal cavity is the one producing the gunna. So that's where the gunna comes out from, and it is used for noon mushaddada and also mim mushaddada. So the khayshum is where the gunna comes out from. Inna alladhina, right? Yeah. So and the mim as well, right? So let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha, and you're gonna see how I read. So watch out for how I read and pronounce each of the letter. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Right, so you might not be too perfect like I did. I'm not saying I'm perfectly perfect, but I try to give each of the letters their sifat and their makharij, so this is what you want to do whenever you want to recite the Quran. I already had a webinar where I discussed, or I think it wasn't a webinar, it was just a talk, right, where I talked about the mistakes in the Quran, right, while reciting the Quran. Most often you want to avoid al-lahn al-jali, the obvious mistakes, like you're not giving the letters, not pronouncing them from the proper makhraj, right? You're not pronouncing the letter out from the proper articulation point of the mouth. This is not good. You don't want to continue doing this. You want to learn it properly so that you have the complete reward for the Quran recitation. Like Salam said, whenever you read the Quran, alif, lam, mim, pronouncing each of those letters at their respective places, you get reward for that. But if you are pronouncing them, changing their letters where they shouldn't be pronounced, then you're not gonna be getting that reward completely. Allah knows best, but you're not getting those rewards completely if you're not able to pronounce them properly. Like for instance, if someone is gonna say sirata, which is sod. But if you're, instead of you saying sirata, but you're saying sirata, you're not pronouncing sod anymore. It should, in that area, in this place now, it should be sirata, right? It should be see my mouth. Sirata, sirata, sirata. But instead of you saying sirata, but you're saying si, you're saying sirata. Si and su is different. Si, su. Si is sin, s is sod. Or you're saying sirata. You're saying sirata. No, that's wrong. The ta is harful isti'la. No, you know, that's a complex stuff, right? So ta. So sirata, not sirata, right? Or if you want to say an'amta, but instead of you saying an'amta, but you're not saying an'amtu or an'amta, right? No one is gonna do that. Not very often people make that kind of mistake, but there are people that make those kind of mistakes, brothers and sisters. We want to avoid this, right? Or if you're saying ghayril magh, or you're not, instead of you saying magh, you're not saying mag. There's not any sound like magdubi. There's not magdubi. Some people pronounce the dot like dal, magdubi. There's nothing like magdubi. Maghdubi, right? Maghdubi, ghayril maghdubi alayhim. And you want to make sure you pronounce the ha from the bottom of the of your throat, right? Ha, and the hamza is a, right? So Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. You see that? So this is just a little bit of practice about how you implement. So like for instance, if you want to pronounce the hamza, Iyyaka. So I see I pronounce the hamza. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. You see that I elongated the ein. There's another rule for that. It's called al-madu al-aridun lis-sukun. So if you want to stop on a word in the Quran, and there's a mad, half a mad before the last letter, you have to give that word mad al-aridun lis-sukun, you know, for you to stop on it. That's something else we're gonna talk about later on, inshallah. But today we talked about the makharij, and this is just a summary of everything. You know, the nose, the mouth, the khayshum, which is the nasal cavity, one articulation point there. The jawf, which is the oral cavity, we have just one articulation point, and that's where the letters of mad comes out from. The throat, we have 3 articulation points. So we have adna al-halq, both the ghain and the kha comes up from the same articulation point. So whenever they meet together, it's gonna be what we call al-gham mutamathilan. So I will not talk about those complex stuff anymore today. Sorry if I've put in a lot of difficult terminologies. I'm gonna make it, you know, a lot less, you know, hard terminologies inserted in my talk, inshallah. But you know, this is something that we have to learn, break down in piecemeal, and after, you know, if you want to learn it perfectly, you have to have someone who's gonna you know, listen to you. So you can have someone who not necessarily might not be me, but you know that these are things that you need to know, and you have to work towards them, inshallah, right? So and you know, the halq, so the a and the ha comes out from the same point. The a and the ha comes out from the same article. So the throat has 3 articulation points, the tongue has 10, and the lips has 2, right? So the fa comes out from where? The fa comes out from 1 articulation point in the lips, and the wa, the ba, and the mim comes out from the same articulation point, right? And the khayshum, just the nunu, mim mushaddada, you know, gunna, comes out from there, inshallah. So I would like to see if anyone have questions here. I don't even know, do we have people watching? Okay, so inshallah, if there's no questions, we'll end the webinar. If anyone has questions later on, they can comment below, and inshallah we're gonna attend to them, inshallah. Until then, Allahumma arina al-haqqa haqqa warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arina al-batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Fassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.